Hey guys, welcome back to another video in the r/entitled_people subreddit. Today I have 3 stories for you. The first involving an obnoxious Kevin being loud in a movie theater and gets a can of Coke whipped straight at the back of his cranium. The second story starring yet another Kevin that thinks he can give OP an exorcism to get rid of her Tourette's. And the third story is about a Karen that blocks an entire exit because she doesn't want to get wet in the rain. Boy, oh boy, doesn't that all sound lovely? This is soda. When the movie 300 was released in South Africa, I actually went to see it twice in the span of 2 days. On the second viewing, the theater didn't have a large audience. Enter entitled jerkwad, with a heavy-set French accent, who was sitting at the end of one of the rows up front, answering his phone and speaking very loudly and discourteously, spoiling the experience for others. Soon enough, an usher was called in. EJ was so horribly abusive to the usher, who kindly just asked him to take his call outside and then come back in after he finished. The abusive patron was swearing and half threatened to beat up the usher and demanded to speak to management. As it so happens, the manager of the cinema complex walks in, a very smart African lady with hella poise and grace. On seeing the manager, the snotty EJ becomes racially abusive, swears at the manager, and starts denigrating her anatomy. The manager then does an about face and mentions that she will have a security guard escort him off the premises. Snooty EJ proceeds to sit down with a smug, victorious snort and continues with his telephone call when something seems to arc in the air across the cinema screen. Very small, but very out of place. I don't recall this from last night's screening. Is it a spear? Is it an arrow? What the? Splash. A can of Coke, expertly lobbed across the breadth of the cinema, deftly hits the racist bastard against the side of his head, erupting on impact and causing his phone to get all wet and effed up. EJ is soaked and buggered and starts roaring like a wounded animal, demanding to know who threw the Coke. At this point, the manager walks in with the security guards who forcefully escort the a-hole out of the cinema to the roaring applause of the audience. EJ may have fallen against a seat or two and walked into a door twice. When the lights came up at the end of the movie, we all stood up to see who our savior was. But the only person seated in that vicinity was an elderly lady in her 60s who mumbled something about still being thirsty. This is karma! You go, Granny! We have had some seriously awesome grannies on here lately. I aspire to be this kind of take no crap granny one day. I hope someone got her a new can of Coke. She definitely deserves it. Entitled guy tries to exorcise the Tourette's out of me and won't take no for an answer. So for context, I have Tourette's syndrome. My most common at work is a meow-like squeak. Now, something important to know about Tourette's is if you mimic someone's tics, or you tick yourself or do something tick-like, you can force them to tick and it can get very bad. Tourette's isn't all that cute if you actually know about it. Forcing too many tics can result in ticking so much you stop breathing and pass out. You can get what I call stuck tics, where you can't stop doing one tick for an extended period of time, or the worst case scenario, triggering a tic attack, which can, and for me it does, look like a grand mal seizure that can last up to 4 hours. I live in Ohio, so there are a lot of Christians and most people don't understand my tics. And since I work as a cashier and see hundreds of people a day, I get people offering to pray for me at least once a week. It's not all that unusual. I always say yes, and then they go home and I assume add me into their nightly prayers. I don't mind, and if it's what they feel they need to do, who am I to stop them? I try my best to keep my verbal tics to sounds, not words at work, which is difficult, but I pull it off, and if I can't, I cover my mouth to muffle some really bad or some just not family-friendly things that I say. I'm also non-confrontational to a fault, People scare me, so I act like a doormat. Okay, down to the story. It started off as a pretty standard interaction. A guy came up to my register and I asked him to put his mask on. He complied and asked what the noise was. So I told him, I have Tourette's. And he looked weirdly gleeful and asked if he could pray for me, so I said yes. And this is where it got weird. Apparently, his religion is the one where you twitch and shout in tongues because Jesus is possessing you. He started twitching and trying to make me copy him, saying a bunch of weird stuff like promising my soul in exchange for Jesus to possess me and free me from the demons who were inhabiting my body. At this point, I was really uncomfortable, and one of the kids I work with, he's a tall, big-looking dude, came over and stood there. He didn't know what to do, but I appreciate the solidarity and that he was there in case it got worse. The guy kept doing this twitch stomp thing with his whole body that forced me to do it, and that made him really excited. But he wouldn't let me claim I was saying the words in my head because you might really be thinking that you don't accept Jesus and you need to accept him in order for him to possess you and get rid of the demons inside of you. At this point, I was having a lot of trouble standing upright and I was scared. I look around and saw my manager, who is a mama bear, and all the cashiers are her ducklings. I couldn't catch her eye, so behind my back I started desperately trying to wave her over. She came over, guns a-blazing, seeing what was happening, and told me to go sit down behind the service desk, basically hide, and also that's where I go when I'm gonna have a tic attack, and I could barely stand because of this dude. And the guy flipped his crap, getting mad and yelling at her about how she stopped Jesus, and how is he supposed to exorcise my demons when she stopped Jesus? You can't get in the way of Jesus. And she responded by firmly and loudly saying I was gonna have a seizure, simplified version of me having a tic attack, and he was still flipping his crap and tried to insist I check out his items and that you can't stop Jesus. She pointed to a register far away from mine and told him he could check out there. After checking out, he was shooed out of the store and my tics were bad. He came back a few minutes later saying he was in town for a witch convention and I needed to let him exorcise the demons out of me. I was twitching like crazy and was scared of this guy. My two managers stood in between me and the guy and told him to leave. He asked if I wanted him to leave and I meekly said, yes please. And eventually he got shooed out of the store and didn't come back. But the damage was done. I got my arm stuck in a tic and could barely use them for 45 minutes, and eventually they switched tics and I couldn't use them for another 2 hours. He honestly thought we were gonna have to abandon my car and a coworker was gonna drive me home. Eventually I figured out how to teach my managers how to do a reset on me, basically forcing me to do tics that are really hardwired into my brain to get me unstuck, and I was able to use my hands again instead of swinging them like a skier. But he gave me a stomping tic, so I had to wait in my car for another 45 minutes before I could drive without stomping the gas pedal. Now I'm home, I'm exhausted, irritated, and in pain because he wanted to exorcise the Tourette's out of me. Ugh, this kind of crap makes me so mad. I would never bash someone's religion or what they believe in, but if someone tells you no or to stop, you frickin' stop. It doesn't matter what you think or what your beliefs are. If you're hurting someone or making someone uncomfortable, you're a terrible person and your religion doesn't give you a free pass to be an a-hole. I'm glad though that OP's coworkers were somewhat helpful. I would have just kicked that guy out straight away and not even let him check out, but at least they let OP finish the shift in peace and seemingly did what they could to help. We all want to go home, Karen. A friend took me grocery shopping. My vehicle isn't running at the moment. I struggled to shop because all the motorized carts are taken and I need way more groceries than the motorized carts can carry. I have to lean on my standard cart for support as I shop. This means that by the time I've done all the bending, lifting, and walking, my back and hip are on fire. I have degenerative disc disease. I shop, get in the checkout line behind a woman that separated her shopping slowly into 3 separate transactions. I'm patient, as just standing still gives my back a little bit of rest. I let my friend, who's waiting in the car, know that I am on my way out. She tells me that I need to hurry because the weather is getting bad and it's starting to rain heavily. It took about 20 minutes to get through the checkout and start out the door, and this is where the breakdown happens. I am standing in another line that's about 8 people long waiting to exit the store. The store has the entrance and exit separated with barricades consisting of poles with canvas ribbon stretched between them to help guide people through the correct doors and keep people apart. My back hurts, so I'm a little annoyed at the delay getting out. All I want to do at this point is sit down. I can hear a quarrel going on from the front of the line, so I step to the side to get a look. There I see Karen, 50 to 55 years old, blonde ponytail sticking out of a baseball cap, and sitting just outside the exit doors where there is an overhang or awning on a motorized cart that's parked sideways. She has the entire double door exit completely blocked off. No one behind her can get out, creating a traffic jam of shopping carts. Ma'am, can you please move so we can get out? I'm not moving until my ride gets here. It's raining. Ma'am, we are all trying to get out before the weather gets any worse. Ma'am, you're going to have to move. No, I'll get wet. My ride is coming. We'll load my shopping and get out of your way. Lady, move. Karen turns in her seat and glares daggers at the people. There are at least 6 more people now behind me waiting to exit. The woman behind me asks if I know what the holdup is, and I explain what I think is going on. The woman rolls her eyes and says, "There's always one in every crowd." Ma'am, if you don't move, I'll have to call the police to move you. I'm not going anywhere. I called my husband and he is coming to get me. I'm not getting out in the rain and getting sick. Just go around me. We can't get our shopping carts around you. Karen gives everyone a one-finger salute and continues to sit on her cart while people still inside the store are complaining, and a few at the front of the line are shouting at the woman to move as she ignores them. The worker finally decides that she's had enough and radios customer service to call the police. She disengages one of the barricade straps and starts ushering people to exit through the entrance door. I make it outside and head to my friend's car in the pouring rain. We get everything loaded in and see that the police have shown up. An officer was talking to Karen. I see her shake her head no and fold her arms over her chest. Then I see the officer grab the handle of the cart and move it out of the doorway and into the downpour. I have no idea what happened after that, as I was on my way home to get out of my wet clothes and put this on Reddit. Perhaps Karen, the Wicked Witch of the West, didn't want to go out in the rain because she was afraid of melting. Honestly though, I hate people like this. Get the F out of the way. There's this crazy thing with your skin, and that is that it is waterproof. Not to mention, she's clogging up an exit during a pandemic, forcing everyone to be trapped together. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed those 3 entitled people stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit stories. Bye!